Hello, Simon.
Hello, David.
You all right?
Welcome to the sofa sessions with Pulse Cinemas. So this is going to be an incredible opportunity for you guys to come and join us on the sofa and talk about your business and just have an opportunity to promote yourself through our social media platforms. Now, these events, when we are going to be doing them in the future, are actually going to be filmed live. So one thing to remember, guys, is don't say or during that session because we can't censor it out directly.
No, we can't. Certainly not when it's live, no.
No. So, David, you're joining us today on the sofa session.
I am, yes. Here last week, here again. I think people are going to get bored of my face,
to be honest. But what I wanted to do for you today, David, is last year we had the last Pulse Tours at ISE. Now, the Pulse Tours at ISE are a really successful event. You guys have been involved. I think we take on average about 200 people round in the time that we're actually in Amsterdam. And it's a booked tour, so you get yourself on the tour. We take you to each of our brands, give you a highlight reel of everything that's going on, and it's a nice way that you can kind of not think for an hour other than what we're talking about, but you know by the time you've left that tour you've got all the information that you need for Pulse and the brands essentially. So with all what's going on in the world, we dare not mention the C word, but we all know that has caused a lot of issues for the entertainment industries and live events,
so many different industries, I think.
I mean, obviously, where you were working in Dubai with all the clubs and everything, that must have had a massive impact.
I would say no. Look, Dubai was the Middle East heavily impacted. Yeah. So one of the reasons why I'm now back in the UK as well.
We're very grateful to have you here, mate. At the end of the day.
No, all good. So where are we starting? Which brand do we do first on the tour?
We're going to take you on a tour today, essentially. So we're going to go through all the brands like we would on the tour, but obviously from the sofa. So it's going to be easier for me. I'm not going to be running around and shouting and losing my voice, but. Essentially, we're going to start with Anthem because obviously that's a product that the anticipation is there. People really want that to be delivered at the moment, and you've seen the mail out that's gone out about the delivery side of things. We're doing everything we can to get that product into the UK as quickly as possible, and we're very, very grateful, as I say, for the support we've had with that brand so far. It's absolutely exploded, and next year there's going to be some incredible projects going out there with the Anthem stuff.
Oh no, 100%.
Obviously, being an integrator in a past life, obviously you have an understanding of the range in terms of the 1120s.
Very basic understanding.
Very basic understanding.
Gleaned over 20 years of playing with black boxes and blue LEDs and some shiny stuff. Yeah.
And volume knobs.
Volume knobs. That was an interesting gesture. I don't know where you were going to go with that. That's fine.
But essentially, the 20 series has been replaced, as you know. So since coming over, obviously all the mail outs that have gone out, everything, you're au fait with the product anyway. But essentially, for you guys out there, you have now got a complete new array of AVRs, processors and power amps. So I'm going to take you through the range. So essentially you've got your usual suspects in your AVRs. So you've got your 540, which has replaced the 520, you've got your 740 that's replaced the 720, and your 1140 that's replaced the 1120. See what I did there?
Pattern there. That was good.
It's nice, isn't it? Just add 20 to each one.
Add 20 to each one and you're on it. Yeah, exactly.
But it's not just a case of they've rebranded the front of it and they've made it look pretty. They've actually really updated the innards of this system. So the 520 previously was a 5.2 processor. It didn't have any kind of connectivity in terms of DTS Play-Fi, so you weren't able to do your Spotify Connects and all of those kind of things, which to people that just want a 5.1 system, that's pretty discriminative of that if you think about it. Why should they not have streaming capabilities? But within the new 540 you have got the Roon integration, Google Cast, AirPlay 2, I mean you've got Spotify Connect built into the system, so DTS Play-Fi as a platform is no longer on that system. So the 540 as well has had an update in terms of the processing. So before, obviously I mentioned it's a 5.2 processor, it's now a 7.2 processor, so you would be able to add a MCA225 to it, for example, to give you more channels, or upgrade to like an Atmos setup in that respect. So really nice that they've done that for the product. The 740 side of things has maintained that the 11.2 processing capabilities obviously features everything I've mentioned above in terms of the integration with Roon and all of that kind of stuff. But the 1140's had a major change. Now this is the one that I'm really excited about because I've actually nicknamed it the Mustang of the AVRs because what it does is it can take a client to the level up in terms of immersive cinema. So being a 15.2 processor and you being an integrator, you would understand obviously that you can use the pre-outs and you can produce a very nice 9.1.6 setup from an AVR and a separate power amp, which brings the price point down to what? Just over £6 grand? So that as a product is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. No, that's good. And one thing I'd noticed as well, I mean, just to add to that, some of the, I'd noticed in some of the press that I've been reading, you've got matrixed outputs now. I understand that we can't do anything with the center channel, but a lot of the others in configurations as well, we can kind of map those, move them around. And
you could do anything. I mean, if you use, like, say, for example, you had an 1140 and you only used 7 of the channels, for example, you've still got 4 channels that you could use.
Use some basic multi-room secondary space, etc.
Exactly that. So it's a really flexible product, and that's a good thing, because, I mean, being able to remap channels has been around for a while, but obviously the Anthem products didn't have them, so that is something that's going to create a lot of flexibility for projects moving forward.
And then to the processors, AVM 70 now, AVM 90?
So what they've done there is they've added just 10 to the AVM 60 to make it the AVM 70.
Yeah.
But no, they've made that 15.2 processor as well. So the difference between the processor side of things and the AVRs being a 15.2, obviously things like DACs, they've got better quality materials in there, so it is an upgrade in terms of performance from that perspective. But the discrete configuration of the subwoofers is different between the 70 and the 90. So within the 90 products, you've got 4 subwoofer, and within the 70, you've got 2. So it depends on the type of client you're working with, but on the type of room that you're working with as well. Obviously, different rooms command different levels of performance. You've got a lot of flexibility within the processor range now to be able to get that product in there nicely.
No,
the
definitely.
525, 325, 225 amplifiers, the 225 watt, 8 ohms, that kind of powerhouse amplifier. They haven't actually changed that as a product because it's such a good amplifier. Price points remain the same as well. And actually, to mention, the price points remain the same throughout. The only one that has upgraded mostly is the 540, so the price point's gone up by about £200 retail, something like that. So it's not a major uplift. But we are extremely excited about having that as a product that can be delivered to dealers.
Deliver when they finally come in. It's been a little bit of a push, and I think I mean, one thing that I've been hearing with a couple of the conversations here is speaking to some of the dealers. I think the C word. And the impact that that's had on kind of, international freight, manufacturing. I know there's been a couple of factory incidents as well around the world with some of the components that go into these as well, which has been challenging. So, all good things come to those who wait.
True.
It's been a little bit longer than we maybe wanted. It's a shame that I think some of the dealers wouldn't have been able to get those pre-Christmas systems in.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, look, from my experience of playing with those products so far, seeing some of the early iterations, I know we have some in the rack just over here.
We have the 1140 here.
Really nice product, very, very well thought out. Quality on video, sound, everything else, configuration options. Again, for me, X-Integrator are really, really interesting. It's clear they've been listening to the market. I think a couple of the other brands within our industry could do with listening to the integrators and to the clients a little bit more
it's
than
the
they do.
functionality side of things. You need to be in a job, know what you're doing, getting it done, and no snags really. And actually, I want to put a little shout out to Tom Edge. He came in about a week ago now and did an Anthem room correction, the Arc Genesis, up in the media room with my technical colleague Russell.
Yeah.
So they sat down for a couple of hours, they went through all the ARC, went through some training, and the results of the ARC in that room is absolutely incredible.
Not massively different, yeah.
So the Genesis side of things, the flexibility you have with that, it produces your target curve obviously, but it's going to measure the room.
Yeah.
Once it's measured the room, it will then create the corrected curve, but it's not just then it's done, you've then got flexibility to put your own stamp on the sound in that room as well.
No, I think that's really important, and for those that don't know what ARC is, that's Anthem Room Correction. I think a lot of integrators will go into a space if they're not considering acoustics, not considering a lot of other elements. Room correction, to really listen to how the room is just as important as the speakers that go into it. 100%. We are going to get lots of different things there. So back to, as you're discussing, of that kind of EQ curve around certain frequencies, just doing the very, very best to listen to that space, see how it reacts, and then adjust so that they're getting the best out of the speakers in the system. I think ARC I've worked with a lot in the pro audio sphere, so a lot of kind of quite high-end room correction softwares and stuff, digital space processing, etc., especially on pro audio for large stadiums. And I have to say, ARC's really, really good, very easy to use, and very, very capable system. Yes, some of the other AVRs have the little boundary microphone that sits on the stand, but ARC is, for me, leaps
He's
ahead.
the best of the best.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely great. So that's Anthem, guys. At this point now in ISE, we would all traipse around and get to the next stand and try and barge our way through, lose a few people on the way. But we don't have to do that because we're sat on the sofa. So we're going to talk about Paradigm now, which is awesome because Paradigm actually owns Anthem. So marrying these two together is like putting caramel and salt. It's absolutely incredible. So, Paradigm. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Paradigm. So, as I mentioned, Paradigm owns Anthem. But what's quite funny is you normally say Anthem and Paradigm. It's actually Paradigm and Anthem. I think it's probably just the alphabetical thing. But what is really cool about Paradigm in general is they've got a massive heritage when it comes to hi-fi. I mean, they've got floor standards galore. If you've ever experienced the 9Hs, we've actually got the 9Hs in our Minotti showroom in London. So those things are one of those kind of, if I could build a speaker, what would I do? And if budget was no object, what would I spend? But the kind of technological advancements that Paradigm have has meant that they've been able to get this performance into a speaker like the 9H, but not break the bank. So when I was actually in Munich, 2 years ago now, jeez, when I was in Munich, and
time flies when you have a global pandemic.
It really does, it really does. But we went to the show and it was quite funny to watch. You're sitting there sort of listening to a £250,000 pair of speakers, and then you've got a £40,000 pair of speakers, and that's where you really understand the value of money when it comes to a project in that respect. So the 9Hs are incredible. I mean, the main tweeter, the mid-range, they're all full beryllium. But what they've done is taken a lot of that technology over into their architectural series. Now, the architectural series for UCI, guys, is going to be the bread and butter product when it comes to pulse cinemas and specifying cinemas from anywhere from like $3,000 up to 100,000 realistically.
And above.
And above, obviously, with the new things that might be coming. But essentially, what they've done is that project, the Athena project, that was done in Canada, in Ottawa, by the National Research Council, it was all about sound and how it works and everything, and just guys that are 10 million times more intelligent than both of us working out what it does. It transpired that human beings actually all like the same type of sound. We may not like the same tone, but the same type. And that type being a flat frequency response for the mid-range, where our vocals are. Flat frequency response off-axis, because they found that a lot of the people that were listening to these double-blind tests weren't sitting bang in the middle of those speakers, but they wanted it to obviously still be good for them. And they don't like distortion. If we hear distortion, as you would imagine, it's pretty crap. We don't like hearing it. So they developed 3 technologies that have gone into their architectural series. So I'm going to try and explain this without boring everyone to tears, but essentially you have...
I'm going to strap in.
Ready?
Go.
ART.
Yes.
Right? So ART is all about the surround in the speaker. So it's the way that they adhere the cone to the surround, which gives 50% more movement of the cone, i.e. 3 decibels of volume gain with no added distortion. So they're ticking the box in terms of volume output with no distortion from that surround. So ART stands for Active Ridge Technology. So when you see Active Ridge Technology on the speakers, you'll notice it's kind of like a ridge design around the cones within the speakers. You've also got technology called Reduced Edge Diffraction. Now this is the one that blows my mind when I try and describe it, but essentially like you have standing waves in rooms, you actually have essentially standing waves within the speaker cone itself. So when a frequency, which we all did at school with those wicked little machines that you turned it, the green lines went all over the place.
Oscilloscope.
I've never known what it was called because I didn't really listen at school.
We can just describe it as a box with little wiggly green lines on it.
Box with little wiggly lines.
Sounds so much more interesting.
As that wiggly line becomes relative to the actual size of the cone, it can create a standing wave within inside that cone, which affects the mid-range response of that speaker. So therefore, on the Paradigm speakers that you see with reduced edge diffraction, they have, it looks like a flower. So that little flower basically sits inside the cone, and it's an irregular design. And what happens is those frequencies that are relative to the size of the cone essentially are rolled away from the cone, and therefore helps with the mid-range response on the speaker.
Yes.
Now the third technology they developed off the back of this is called PPA, Perforated Phase Alignment. Wow, awesome. So perforated phase alignment, you'd actually think is a bit counterintuitive because it's actually a lens that goes in front of the tweeter, and if you put anything in front of a tweeter, you're blocking sound. But what it's done is it's engineered in a way with an array of holes that obviously allow the information to pass through with an extremely wide dispersion, but from my perspective, Betty, who you've probably seen on my social media side of things, she likes to poke speakers. So having that PPA lens on the front protects it, giving you a wider dispersion, so your off-axis response is nice. So what I love about that is they've taken those findings, developed technologies into their speakers, and that is available from the Pro range up. So within the architectural series, you have the Home range, which is your entry level, that features the PPA lens. You then go into your Pro range, which features the active ridge technology, reduced edge diffraction, and the PPA lens as well. And you also then have the Elite range. Now the difference between the Elite range and the Pro range essentially is the materials that the cones are made from. So you have an aluminium cone instead of polypropylene, so therefore your sensitivity is better. Don't have to use as much amplification to hit those face melting volumes at the back of the room, and you get a lot more clarity and detail in the sound. So the architectural range is very popular. There's a lot of dealers out there, for example, like MediaComs, for example. Chris, hello, how you doing? Thank you for all your support. Art of Integration recently has done a beautiful Paradigm project. I think there was an award-winning media room done by Perfect Integration with the Paradigm range. They use the X15 subwoofers. I mean, these things are washing machine-sized subs, and they produce a lot of bass. And they used 4 of them, so it's a great range. It's got a lot going for it. It's on demonstration at Pulse Cinemas. You've been in the media room recently. I mean, what do you think?
No, definitely, no, very, very good actually. And I think within those ranges, and I know this is not uncommon with some of the other brands as well, so kind of in wall, in ceiling, different sizes depending on the kind of SPL levels and the kind of power that we're trying to get through there. There's some really, really nice products there. We're not getting those, one thing I've really enjoyed, we're not getting those big fat bezels on speakers anymore. We're getting those wonderful architectural grills, very, very well thought out. Some quite shallow designs as well. I was seeing with some of the, everything from the Home range and through for if we're doing kind of like cavity walls and stuff, recessed systems, very, very neat, clean systems, which is quite nice. Really interested in how you're talking about the dispersion characteristics as well from that tweeter. There are obviously other brands that have done this kind of wide dispersion before, with high frequencies, which are very, very fast, but not much energy from a sound point of view. To have that sent through something with no degradation, some kind of acoustic transparency through that little element you were talking about is fascinating. And then obviously on the
it's fascinating for people like us, I suppose.
I enjoy all of that. And then and actually it's, again, there's because we get so many different types of spaces, whether it's kind of hard furnishing to soft furnishing, high ceilings, low ceilings, how we position those. I think speakers that are really starting to ensure that what's being sent out is the cleanest possible, non-degraded sound. Coloured in any way as well. Yeah, definitely. So, so all good.
Yeah, that's.
So it was wonderful walking around the virtual Paradigm stand, talking about architecture.
I mean, the stand at ISE last year was absolutely beautiful, and the guys at Anthem and Paradigm and Anthem, they give us a lot of support. And we're very grateful for everything that they do for us. So that's Paradigm, guys. So on your boots, let's go to the next stand. On your boots,
check out the website, have a little look, and on to the next one. So Simon, what stand have you brought me to now?
I brought you to Storm Audio.
Storm Audio, I like them.
I like them too.
We did a nice webinar with them, didn't we?
We did. The webinar.
If you haven't seen that webinar, it's a YouTube channel now. It's on there.
Pulse Creative.
And Facebook page under the video section.
Yeah,
we won't put it on any other section, I suppose.
That was the first live session we did, wasn't it?
That was pretty good, that.
Massive thank you to Sebastian on that. He really pulled out all the stops to get that information. I mean, it's an incredibly technical product. So we're not going to go through all the technicalities of it now, but one thing that I want you to all understand is that the Mark II range updates are just at the cutting edge of immersive cinema. I mean, 100%. We have the new cinema updates that are coming at Pulse very soon, which is supported by Storm Audio, in that obviously we'll be processing via their Mark II range. And what we've heard of it already with the system that we have, which is still basic, a basic Atmos system, introducing a immersive cinema setup in terms of wide fronts and DTS:X Pro, everything like that. I mean, that room is going to be lifted in terms of performance.
Lots of exciting things happening with that room. I'm not going to gesture another about that, but 2021's exciting.
100%. And there's a lot of followers out there that utilise Storm Audio.
Definitely.
So I know he's moved to Australia now, but Michael at Perfect Integration, he was a big advocate for that brand. I mean, one of the things that he commented to us about was the level of support that he receives. So when he's on site at 11 o'clock at night, when it's all going wrong and they need to get the storm in the rack and start building it, and they come up with an issue for something or other that's completely out of their control. Sebastian is on there talking him through the situation, getting it resolved remotely, and that's not just Michael. He's done it on countless occasions for setups, live calibration training. He's been there for us when we went to France and we did the full testing and presentations on the products. I mean, the guy is an absolute asset to that business.
No, definitely. That was one thing, actually. I think it was early days, obviously, when I started joining the team. We were putting the webinar together and people were starting to get an idea of what we're trying to do with these sessions and a lot of the creative content. One thing I really enjoyed was just how much positive feedback we had when we were doing that webinar from dealers. One thing that was kind of echoed so many times by different people was that level of support, how they're looked after, how well thought out that product is, how it really has been designed for integrators that want to take it to the next level. You know, it's really well thought out product, and I'm
really
personally
sleek looking as well, isn't it? I mean,
100%.
the new update, that just even when it's off in the rack, just that smoked glass finish on the front.
Yeah, it does look very nice. It's one of those things that you don't want hidden away in an AV room somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. It should
Have
be
it
on
out in the
show.
living room, lit nicely. It's kind of sitting there, this big black monolith. It's wonderful. So all good.
But as David mentioned, that webinar, please check it out, guys, because that is going to give you a full technical rundown of everything that product can do. We're not going to be able to fit that into this segment. I mean, it is absolutely
100%.
incredibly vast when you get into like the Dirac Live, the base management side of things, the different presets for different areas. You can create sort of open plan rooms with different configured setups with speakers. I mean, it is just such a flexible product.
Yeah.
And the team at Pulse Cinemas are here to help you. So whenever you do a Storm Audio product, you are given a free calibration. So we will come out and do that direct for you live on site with your client.
Any calibrations around kind of CPR, Sound of France, anything else, I'm more than happy to jump onto those as
Funny
well.
you say that, we do it. I mean, Simon's been to Amsterdam many a times, sitting on yachts, doing
Simon's got commitments here as well, though. You know, there's dealers that need him on the end of the phone.
True.
So I'm quite happy to take one for the team. I'll pop over there and get that sorted out.
Take the chopper.
Take the chopper, the Pulse chopper from Stansted. All good, yeah. I noticed we've got a helipad just behind the building, so if anyone wants to fly in, we can look after you as well. It's all good. Right, to the next stand. Where are we going now?
Stand. So next stand we're going to is Vicoustic. Now what is very interesting about Vicoustic is all of their kind of manufacturing processes. So if you get your shoes on, I don't know if you got your laces tied up?
Laces tied up, ready to go.
Let's go.
Let's bounce off to Vicoustic. So I feel I should be standing in there with a Vicoustic logo on. I can imagine all these people sitting there walking around ISE in their minds, trying to picture everything, moving through the people.
The one thing you've got to picture is having people like Antonio on the stand. I mean, Antonio, Ruben, Nuno, Per, they're such friendly people. And when you go onto the Vicoustic stand, it's a really kind of fun part of the tour because the guys are they're just properly outspoken, fun guys that love what they do. So you get a real chance to meet the personal aspect of what they are as a company as well. And one of the things that really stands out for me is their manufacturing processes. So Vicoustic, when it comes to all of the panels that are produced, they're actually completely recycled materials. So they're actually recycled from PET, standard plastic water bottles. And Vicoustic actually have a drive in Portugal in the main city centres. They have bins that they're collecting all these plastic bottles. They then recycle them, turn them into their panels, and then obviously their panels go out. So from an interior design perspective, from a survey perspective, from a green element of that project, the carbon footprint of that product is very, very low.
No, that's really good.
The fact that it's got a great kind of green element to it shouldn't take away from the aesthetics of the product though. And in terms of the aesthetics, so the VMT range is something that's become very popular with Pulse, and the VMT range is actually something that's going to be going into the big cinema. So VMT is different thicknesses, but we'll talk about the 20mm thickness panel. So it's a 20mm thickness panel. It comes in a variety of different sizes from 1200 by 600, and I think you can get ones that are like 2.4 meters by 1.8 meters. So if you are doing a really large coverage area, you're able to fit it in nicely with not many joins, which is nice. Simply uses a flexi glue product to glue straight to the surface. They also do some other accessories, like if you've been to our training room at the Stansted HQ, we've got 2 VMT boards which you've seen in the training room there. So what we've done is we've used
that lovely marbly effect.
Yes, it's the marble one. So we used it's an accessory that they sell called Alu Frame. So it's 30mm depth but the panel is 20mm. So there's a 10mm channel essentially for cabling. So what we've done in there is put the alu frame around, built a nice feature wall, but then we've got all the cabling for the television behind it. So it finishes off an area really nicely. I mean, we're in a kitchen area now, quite space that's pretty echoey in here. You know, if we wanted to have a TV area, we could do a nice feature wall, have the TV, and it just adds some absorption to even these really aesthetically prominent areas of a property. Within Vicoustic, it's not just about the aesthetic side of things though. You've got products that are in room, on wall, visible, covered in pretty fabrics, covered in pretty colours, like the VMT, printed even with custom photographs.
Some of the nice timber options as well, different veneers, different finishes. Exactly.
Yeah, my daughter's got the pattern doodle in her bedroom. It's got like little cupcakes and flowers and stuff, which is really nice. But they do the raw materials as well. So if you are doing like a behind the scenes setup, because let's face it, a lot of rooms out there, cinema room dedicated spaces, have a lot of fabricking to them. A lot of what is happening is behind the scenes. So therefore you don't want to be investing a lot of money in a really kind of pretty looking thing that you're then just going to cover with another pretty little thing.
Oh, exactly.
So they do raw materials. A really popular product is the MD55. So the MD55 is a pack of 64 300 by 300 absorbers. And they're really good to use behind the screen for like a front wall, baffle wall absorption around your LCRs. You've then got the Wavewood product, which they do as an EPS polystyrene version, which again can go behind the scenes for your diffusion element. And you've got your absorbers like your Vifoams and your Cinema Round. So on the Vicoustic website, everything is available to look at. It's a very interactive website. You're able to go through each of the products. You're able to choose the different colours, see what quantities they come in, what frequencies they handle, because obviously every product handles a different band of frequencies. And the other thing that you have actually seen now is the project service that they offer, which is putting in, I mean, how from an integrator perspective, how that's pretty invaluable really if you think about it from a getting the acoustics right.
No, 100%. I think there's, I mean, look, I come from a background of working around pro audio. We've kind of touched on the fact that I was a musician for many years, and a lot of the old guys in the industry will remember that. So coming from recording studios, pro audio sounds, nightclubs, high SPL levels, residential applications, a lot of this kind of, I was very much on the cusp of that movement with contemporary properties, floor to ceiling glass, hard surfaces, big open spaces, this kind of open plan living. But open plan living also introduces what I affectionately call like the church hall effect as well. Lots of different things going on. So we've got great range of products and their design services to help us understand those spaces, and not trying to be the cliche, but the egg box on the wall accused to approach it, you know what I mean? But things that are aesthetically pleasing, that can actually look like pieces of art, that will give form and function and everything else, and really allows to get the best out of the electronics, the system where, investments we're making into electronics.
100%. There's no point in investing in speakers, amps, projectors, screens and all this kind of stuff if you're not going to make it.
And then putting it in a glass box and wondering why your ears bleed,
so it's such an important subject.
No, they're great solution, and I'm really excited to be working a little bit more with them as well. Obviously I have strong connections on the pro audio side as well with some of the products they do in that environment. So for me, something I'm looking to spend a lot more time on, and to any of the dealers out there, any conversations around acoustics and how to make acoustics work cohesively with an interior, and really work in a space and keep the client happy, but to allow the systems to perform to the best of their abilities. More than happy to help with any of that as well if any dealers have got any questions.
And one thing I want to mention just before we move on to the next stand is if you are an EastEnders fan, all of the acoustics in the ceilings of the set for EastEnders is produced by Vicoustic.
I didn't know that. Every day's a school day.
Lakers Stadium, the whole of the Lakers Stadium in the ceiling, all the acoustics for that is Vicoustic.
Now you're just name dropping.
Mate, these guys, ITV, they work with everyone.
They work with everyone. No, it's very, very good product, very well thought out. So, next stand, Simon, where are we going now?
On to the next stand. So next we are going to be going to Fortress. Now these guys are very good friends of mine, so I'm going to tell you a little bit more when we get there.
Cool.
So we're at Fortress now.
Nice.
Sitting on some nice leather seats, and
not made by Fortress.
No, these weren't made by Fortress. It's actually Garby. If you're watching this, if you want to sort us out with a nice Milano, maybe a sofa or sectional for the medium, for the
with recliners, massagers.
Yeah, that would be nice to recline my legs a little bit.
Cup holder, face mask holder.
Face mask holder.
Face mask holder.
Hook.
2 metre social distancing. It's all good.
But Fortress, I mean, for anyone out there, we get a lot of inquiries coming through for Fortress. They are an award-winning bespoke manufacturer of sofas, sectionals, home theatre seating, chaise lounge, anywhere from even our office chairs up in the main office are made by Fortress. I mean, I feel like Dr. Evil when I'm sitting on their massive black, cushy, lovely leather chairs. They're brilliant. But the guys there, it is a family business, and I mean, it was owned, still is owned by Garby and his father. And the actual business was founded in the 30s, end of the 30s, and they worked very much in the medical industry, so producing kind of your orthopedic style chairs, dentist chairs, all of this kind of stuff. That ergonomics and comfort is of extreme importance when it comes to that. So moving into the more domestic and residential market, being able to take that skill and that technicalities, also putting in a bespoke manufacturing side of things with design, they're able to produce simply the world's best home theatre seating. I mean, at the Big Cinema, I mean, those seats are actually up for sale. So if you guys, because we're changing them with new Fortress chairs.
Christmas present for somebody, move quick.
Definitely. We've got the Kensingtons and the Solos in there. They have an array of designs that are on their website. So if you go to the Fortress Seating website, you'll be able to go through all of the ranges. They have anywhere between customers' own materials to faux leathers, 50-50 leathers, standard leathers, premium leathers, suedes, fabrics, blimmin' anything. We've done a cowhide one before. I mean, it is completely custom in what you want. And I think from working with them on a personal level, what is great is being able to produce a vision of the client through the seating. So it's not just, I want that chair, can I have it in my cinema room? Of course they can, that's no problem at all. We can get it shipped over and you can buy it and you can put it in there. But if you want that design, you've seen a picture of something somewhere, you've seen an idea, you've got a feeling for what you want, you can work directly with the Fortress team to help your client to produce that custom seating. So anywhere from the framework is done custom to even things like the depth of the cup holder. We had one once where the client had a very specific sized whiskey glass. So we must have gone back and forth on about 10 emails to decipher how this cup holder needed to be milled out of a solid piece of brass. The blooming cup holders were ridiculous. But it's that flexibility of being able to manufacture that with them that's made Fortress the go-to brand for custom seating.
No, and that's one thing, and I think we've touched on this in previous videos from my experience of working with Pulse for so many years, as well as a lot of the other distributors in the UK and internationally. I've certainly, and I think with the clients that I've had, lent more towards manufacturers that will give me bespoke options. You know, we touched on Storm before, and you know, obviously with Fortress and others. There's certain things that we can do within, you know, I wouldn't say off the shelf product, but some very, very capable products that will meet our expectations. But I think for seating, if you're a real big movie fan, sitting down, having those customized for you to the nth degree, for a lot of clients is really, really important. You know, it is a little bit of investment, but as we've all found, we've all been sitting down at home for the last year and stuff. I think we're appreciating comfy sofas.
Oh, definitely.
So, and comfy chairs when you're sitting down and watching your movies.
Because that's what's important. If you're sitting down watching a film for 2 hours and the whole time you're concentrating on the fact that your bum is numb, or you can't quite get your back comfortable and things like that, when you look at the Fortress range, you've got so many different choices of seats that cater for different types of sitting. And I know that sounds completely ridiculous, but if you are a car fan, for example, and you're used to that more hunkered down position with that low lumbar support, that real kind of, look at the Kensington. That seat was designed around a Ferrari chair that the client wanted. The client lived in Kensington, the project was in Kensington. I believe it was Smartcom who worked on that with us. And that seat was created out of nothing, and it's now probably the best-selling seat that Fortress do. So if you have got any ideas for seating out there, you want to create your own bespoke chair, speak to the guys and we'll be able to get that.
No,
I wish Garby
100%.
was here, actually, because he can help me.
You can tell now, and I think this year as well, we've all learnt what the term binge watching, whether that's Netflix or anything else. So if you're going to binge watch Games of Thrones 5 seasons, get a comfy chair to do it in and stuff. And if you're going to watch that with the family, get some more chairs and they can help you with that. It's all good.
So while we're all sitting comfortably on our Fortress chairs, we need to make sure that what we're watching is the optimum in terms of performance from the visual perspective and also from the audio perspective. So I'm going to take you now to Screen Research, where I'm going to show you a little bit about what they do, also things like the configurator that I want to bring up. So
excellent.
Let's go.
Let's do that.
So we're at Screen Research now. we walked very far to get here, and what I want to tell you about screen research is how you specify screens. Now, screens are, let's face it, off-the-shelf style. You've got your 100-inch, your 200-inch. I mean, it's great to say a 200-inch screen. But you do also have weird rooms where you need to get a bit of custom kind of movement when it comes to the screen design. So you've got the screen research configurator. Now what's really important about the screen research configurator is that you get registered on there. Because if you're registered on the screen research configurator on site with that client on a weekend when you are specifying the screen, you're able to plumb in all the information. It's like doing an insurance quote, to be honest, pretty easy. Just tap in all the information, select the types of screen you want, the type of fabric, whether you want it masked, whether you want to control it by RS2, 232, or whether you want to control it by 12 volt, all these kind of things you put into it. And it chucks out the other end a dimensional drawing of the screen, both from a front view, top view, side view, all the mechanisms, everything that you need as an integrator to understand how to fit it. But it also gives you a retail ex-VAT price point. So when you are on site with that client and they go, look, I've got about $3,000 to spend on a screen, for example, Bosch, you can get it right. There's different families within screen research as well. So you've got your classic line, which is your entry-level stuff. You've got your Supreme range, which is anything from fixed frame to masking. With the classic line, there's something I actually want to mention. So with classic line, you were always only allowed to have perforated material. Now, perforated material is fine, but if you're putting speakers behind it and you're losing 4 decibels of the 10 to 20k frequencies, you're basically putting something in front of the speaker. So having a woven material is always going to be better. So now with the classic line CLF fixed frame screen, you're able to get ClearPix 2 material up to 130 inches wide. So even for the customers where budget is a little bit slimmer than the others, you've got an option now with the woven screen, which is really important. So when you're in the media room upstairs and you're sitting watching a film and you turn the screen off, and turn the system off, sorry, and something happens. Tell us a little bit about that. What was your experience when you first joined and you sat there and pressed the button and that?
No, I really like that. I mean, there's other brands that I think most of the dealers will be aware of that will allow us to do solutions where we're covering with artwork, sliding panel mechanisms, and other elements. And
from an automation
point of view, and I've always been a very, very big fan of those. Back to what we're touching on with Acoustics as well, the ability to find things that are cohesive with a space, and at times, you know, a large screen in a non-dedicated cinema, 85-inch, whatever brand it may be, big black rectangle when it's not being used. I'm always trying to think of creative ways of using them to either do something in that space. Obviously, since we've moved away from plasma, we don't get the screen burn issues, or to then do some ways of masking them. I think the impact when you were saying the Screen Research Pro is something that will allow me to have such a large screen within quite what is essentially a conventional living room space, not a dedicated cinema, to have that work within the space, to be able to enjoy that space in different uses, and then have that then turn into the screen is, it's pretty special.
So what we're describing here is a product called the FDM. So it's a deco mask. So essentially it's a piece of artwork that is printed onto
decorative masking.
Decorative masking, and it's on the configurator under masked screens. However, they've recently brought out the FDM because previously you could only specify it on screens that had lateral masking. Whereas now you're able to specify it on a screen. For example, a media room, you've done a nice 16:9 screen. It's got a top roller in it. The material will come down, which you can have printed with any piece of art on there. We've got a few dealers out there that have done it recently. And it's really, really creative because say, for example, you just want to go and sit in the room, listen to some music, but you don't want to have the cinema screen open. It's acoustically transparent as well, so you're able to listen to that music. And if you did come on a tour with us at ISE in 2020, you would have seen the deco mask on the Screen Research stand. It had the big tiger face on it. And I mean, if you've seen my tattoos, I absolutely love tigers, so it was a really nice image to have on there. But when it comes to Screen Research, manufacturing times are good, delivery times are good, price points are good, configurator's awesome, and
product is made to a very, very high standard, and they just work.
100%. ISF and THX certification for all the materials as well. So
definitely.
Really, really
one of the big go-to brands for me for many years as well, and it's lovely to now be working on the other side of the camp now, working with them and supporting dealers integrating and using them. So definitely. Where to now, Simon?
So now we are going to move over to Sim 2. So I want to take you to the guys at Sim 2 and talk a little bit about my heritage, because they're in Venice. Actually.
Exactly.
So,
Shall we do a nice little transition?
Yeah.
Let's go on here.
Oh, what this?
Nice transition.
That's nice.
Off to
Very
Sim 2.
Wayne's World.
Very Wayne's World, exactly. I'm enjoying all this walking around, Simon.
This walking around is...
This is like the 2020 walk around.
Yeah.
You just don't actually leave. Everything's done on camera.
It's like the film Wall-E, isn't it? We're all sitting in those little like white bubbles and we're just going to float around ISE.
Certainly feels like it after this, yeah, exactly. So, Sim 2.
Yes, we're on a Sim 2 stand at the moment, so we are... He's not here at the moment, but we would have Massimo, who is a very big part of Sim 2 and always offers us a lot of support when it comes to webinars. He actually came over to the UK and did a full tour with a lot of dealers talking about the product, which was really, really useful. We've got the Nero 4S on display in the large cinema, which is their flagship model, but the major update that's coming to our large cinema in the next coming months is a dual stack version of it. So they do a dual stack, it's around £40,000 retail. But obviously in the world of HDR, having the control over the brightness, the contrast of the image to get those real high highlights and those deep blacks, you're able to reproduce that through the dual stack system beautifully. So we're really, really excited about having it in the large cinema. So new products, however, we've got 2 new products from Sim 2.
Yep.
Okay, so there's a whole kind of thing about ultra short throw at the moment, and having a lot of manufacturers at the moment producing really high quality ultra short throw projectors that go into, let's face it, nice quality media rooms that they don't want a projector hanging from the ceiling. So you've got the XTV product, which is now in 4K. So it's a laser based system, but what's really nice about it is an on furniture version. So you can have a beautiful cabinet with it on the top of it. You can also have an in-furniture version, so it comes with a different mounting bracket that essentially the custom furniture is cut in.
Recesses in.
Yeah, it recesses in, and you have a nice piece of crystal glass on the top.
Yep.
The other orientation of it that's available is an in-ceiling version. So if you imagine just setting back from the screen in the ceiling, you've got a beautiful piece of crystal glass again, but it's projecting down onto the screen.
And interestingly, actually, and I think it certainly would have been touched on at the show, is... I've done a little bit of training with, I think, Massimo and some of the guys talking about that product. It's really interesting how for the recessed version, whether in ceiling or in table, that piece of glass that's over the top is designed in such a way that we don't have issues with refraction.
Yes.
You know, we're not pitching, we're getting a very, very clean, sharp picture kind of going through that. Although we have different layers of glass, all of that's been very, very well thought out.
And you can get up to a 120-inch screen. So let's face it, a 3-metre wide screen. That's a pretty bread and butter sized screen that would go out there. So you're able to produce some really big images with that product. And talking about the fact of not wanting to have a projector hanging from the ceiling in a beautiful room, one of the things that Sim 2 do beautifully is the aesthetics of the projector. So the projector itself, in the second new product that I want to talk about, which is the Crystal Super Hybrid, which is their new conventional front projection system with laser technology. It's in a beautiful crystal glass cabinet that comes in either black or white. So if you are having an aesthetics battle in the room about that projector that's hanging from the ceiling, you've got a beautiful cable management system with it.
Interior designers should approve.
Oh, they will.
You know,
100% they'll approve.
Not the only projector manufacturer in the world, but clearly one of the most beautiful ones when it comes to aesthetics.
That Italian flair in the product.
Back to, again, cohesive interiors. I mean, I think there's one thing that I've been always a very, very strong advocate for with so many clients is that, yes, we can go very large, whether it's kind of OLED or LED or whatever, these large touch screens. But when they're not in use, that's a big black rectangle on the wall. Yeah. We're starting to see a huge increase in the brightness now for projectors. Ultra short throw is now helping us get around some of the installation issues that we'd have from a 3.8, 4 metre, 4.5 metre throw from a projector. And shadowing as well, which not a lot of people talk about. So again, working with ultra short throws in, say, some of the retail environments over the years that I've done, or in other environments, from 4 metres away, if you're entertaining, it's shadow puppets in front.
Yeah, exactly.
Ultra short throw allows us to really kind of get that close. And again, the brightness of the bulb to a surface that's only that far away is going to be much brighter than obviously kind of light dissipating through at a longer distance. So, and the lovely thing is when it's off, back to the whole black rectangle kind of conversation, it's off, you have a clean room aesthetically. That's exactly all of that.
And the fact is as well, the Super Hybrid is super bright. It's 3,600 lumens. So this projector, if it is in a nice kind of aesthetic like room like this, for example, you've got the windows open, you are able to produce a really dynamic image.
Yeah.
Not having to sit in the pitch darkness
No,
with
exactly.
friends, which is always
Exactly.
nice. Unless you're sitting with you, obviously, because your face is pretty...
Well, no, but also sitting in a dark room with some of my friends is also equally scary. So I've got the lights on, I feel much happier. Yeah.
And I'm from Harlow, so I don't like sitting around dark spaces in case.
All good.
But yeah, so that's Sim 2. So we've got the XTV, we've got the Super Hybrid, we've got the dual stack, we've got the updates. It's going to be an incredible year for Sim 2.
Yep. And with all of these as well, guys, do check out the websites for the manufacturers. You can see some more details on our website as well. And then if there's any more technical questions with regards to installation, how to best use these products, considerations for installation, planning in the room, everything else, let us know. As much as you want to get geeky about that and do something really, really bespoke and off the shelf, myself, the rest of the team, more than happy to help deliver some fantastic solutions in 2021. Because this year, I think we'd rather forget, really. Yeah. So, off to next, Kaleidoscape.
Yeah, we're going to venture off to Kaleidoscape. So should we do another little funky transition?
Do you want to do another transition?
I do.
I know. Beautiful.
I like that.
Kaleidoscape now. I'm going to have a little adjust.
You're going to have a little adjustment?
Yeah, I need a fortress seat, much more comfortable. Yeah, everyone else is squirming in their chairs as well.
Me, actually.
No, exactly. Can we move this one down as well? That was bothering me.
Is it?
Is that going to cause a continuity error? Is it going to slide down now? I don't know whether that looks any better. Anyway, so Kaleidoscape. Tell me all, Simon.
So let's face it, it's the movie server to have. If you're investing, like I said before about the acoustic side of things, if you're investing in the highest quality system for your property, then you want to put the highest quality sources through it so that you get the best out of that system. So Kaleidoscape has obviously been around for a long time, and they've been through the wars when it comes to the legalities of licensing with film studios. But what that has prevailed in is a solid, strong relationship with those film studios. So content delivery and everything like that is very good for them. And we have a nice simple range now, because before, with the whole Premier Line side of things, it was quite complicated to specify.
It was quite complicated.
You had many different components, many different orientations of that component. If the wind was not blowing quite right on this Friday and it meant that didn't play, it was just trying to explain it to a client was very difficult for them to understand it. So having a simplistic range now with the digital delivery of content. So all of the content now, guys, to get onto a Kaleidoscape system is downloaded from the Kaleidoscape store. Obviously, there is still Premier Line systems out there that Kaleidoscape are still supporting. However, that range, the Premier Line service, has essentially been defunct as of the 31st of July this year. So there was a lot of spares and all this kind of stuff that was bought by marine integrators in that time to maintain those projects over a period of time. But adding 4K to that scenario was another thing that was a bit of a challenge for us. So the 4K elements, the Kaleidoscape Strato, which is their player, and the Terra servers, to have that integrated with an existing Premier Line customer was a difficulty. You would have had two sources. Whereas now, you guys are familiar with the CoStar setup, so you're able to do the HDMI side of things and have one interface with all of your 4K content, all of your existing 1080 content, all in one place, and the system's clever enough to know where it is. They've got licenses with Crestron as well, so if you're putting in like a Crestron MVX system, you can have a license within DM to be able to switch the sources correctly for the viewing. And it's really accelerated the upgrade path for these Premier Line customers. Yeah. Having that ease of specifying as well has meant that I've been able to pull in more Kaleidoscape business from the dealers out there that already understood the product, but now they know that that's where it is and that's where it's going. It's really, really snowballed into some incredible jobs. Yeah. So if you guys out there that are watching the Ronnies, the Adams, the Peter Links, all these guys that are doing some really amazing Kaleidoscape projects, if there's any invites to those properties to check it out, I'd love to go.
No, definitely. And I think one thing's important for the younger dealers that are coming through and are trying to justify the use of Kaleidoscape over much more kind of I'd say consumer level products, Apple TV, some of the others are streaming services. We are talking about something that is much more towards, and I love this cliche, but as the director intended. I think so many brands kind of throw that around.
I think Kaleidoscape call it the true theatrical experience.
True theatrical experience, yes. But, we've got a wealth of different products there. Storage options and stuff for the digital storage is quite big. both residential and marine projects. Obviously, back in the day, done quite a few marine projects. That upgrade path was quite important. I have obviously experience of clients that would be owner only of large private gym palaces in the marine sector, a couple of owner operator, slightly smaller, but where they're going to be doing a lot of kind of chartering and selling around on their 2-3 week, 4-week holiday, and then some of the larger craft that are out for charter, where people are obviously rotating through that boat's available for different types of entertainment. So very, very strong systems for the marine sector. Also aware of a couple of aviation projects where kaleidoscopes have been dropped in for similar. And then residential is the obvious one. But yeah, if you're going to be investing, from my point of view, into these wonderful systems, great projectors and seating and acoustics and Storm Audio, Anthem, all of these other brands, it's really, really good to make sure that we've got some very, very good, strong content in there to get the best out of those systems. It's one thing I've always loved about Pulse is you have everything, a little bit of everything to provide proper solutions. There's no real gaps in the portfolio, and certainly a couple of things joining us in 2021 to reinforce the flexibility that we have to get some great systems out there. Okay.
And just from a product hardware perspective, I just want to take you through it quickly. So you've got your Strato players, you have a 6 terabyte version, you have a 12 terabyte version, you've also got what's called the Strato C, which is a half U player, essentially.
Half 19-inch rack, yeah.
And that is a player without storage, which you would link to either a Strato with storage, or if you want to get like a second zone, or alternatively you require more power, computing power, to give you independent streams across a yacht, for example. You can use the Terra server and the Strato C. So the Terra servers are available in 24 terabytes and 40 terabytes.
Okay.
So in terms of storage capabilities, a lot of storage on there.
Excellent, all good. And now we're nearly getting to the end of our little walk around.
We are.
Where are we off to now?
Last year, I say last year, it feels like this year wasn't this year, but it was.
This year hasn't really been a year. We'll ignore this one.
Well, February, I was walking around, and the things that were keeping me going were these kind of spinach drinks. I felt like Popeye. Like I was walking around, and I had one of them, and it kept me going. But I have to say, this is a lot more comfortable.
A lot more relaxing way of doing it. Not too much walking.
A lot more relaxing.
Just imagining the walk. Yeah.
So we're going to go on to the next stand now.
Okay.
We are going to head over to RTI.
Nice.
Where I would like to take you over some of the training initiatives that Pulse is doing, and also talking about a new product that's available.
Fantastic.
As well.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
And now here on RTI, I feel like we need to look like we've walked. Let's position around a little bit. Right, RTI.
So we're on the RTI stand now. So if you haven't met Cyril yet from RTI, he's 6'8", very loud.
So shorter than Josh, our camera guy.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit shorter. Two man mountains together.
He'd actually be quite handy here with the cameras, to be honest. Well, I say he would be.
And at trade shows as well, because if we need to find somebody, they can
that's the best
look
thing
over the top of everybody else.
That's the thing. Exactly. When I'm walking up to the RTI stand at ISE, and I know that I need to do a presentation with Cyril, I can see his head, so I catch eyes with him. I'm like, he's like, oh right, size here. We need to do the presentation now. But Cyril is an incredible help for Pulse. He comes over and does a lot of the training. So if you guys came on the Apex training that we put out in our training room pre-COVID, you had the ability to learn about all of the Apex system to do all of your
programming software,
all the programming, everything like that. That's now headed up by Russell Hughes, who's in our technical department, so he's going to be performing training. We were having discussions the other day about producing like a nice training pack. So
100%.
We're thinking about doing things in a remote way so that we can get customers au fait with the systems, being able to program on the fly. And one of the things that we're actually producing with the RTI side of things is custom kits. So these kits are going to be available for you to put into maybe a single zone solution. Client's got a cinema, they want a control system, so you'll have a nice remote processor, app license for an iPad, for example. And we actually offer a very nice programming pack that essentially is, so I will always say plug and play, but you can go on site and have the infrastructure there to be able to program that room really, really quickly.
No, that's fantastic. So for those that haven't worked with RTI, obviously a variety of different control brands. You mentioned Crestron before.
Yes.
Most people will be aware, kind of Crestron, Savant, Control,
Elan,
Elan, all of these as well. And RTI's been, I think, a a strong presence in the market right back in the days when I was kind of first starting in system integration. So,
have you had much experience with? Because you must have used like the old integration designer sort of styly, and then moving over.
Yeah, you're really going to show my age now. Yes, no. So there's certainly experience with RTI over the years, and also moving on to systems that had existing RTI systems in place. So it would just made sense to kind of update those where possible as well. Client had a preference for that brand and the way that we could customize those interfaces. But no, a really good product. Obviously, although a lot of the guys that I think POS will work with are going to be working within the residential sphere, but RTI is also very good for corporate, for hospitality and others.
Got
some really good flexible solutions there.
Some of the software, some of the systems that I looked at ISE this year, they were demonstrating like a multi-screen system. So like, for example, if you're a really big sport fan and you've got multiple things happening, the golf's on, the football's on, the tennis is on,
definitely.
You can have like your cinema set up in a way that it can go through, and you can have different screen tiles, and it's really quite flexible for like a, you would think that it is really needed for the corporate market, but actually that transitions into the domestic market quite nicely, or sports bars and things like that, you know.
And I think what's interesting as well is crossover from the hospitality sector as well, so in-room systems, guest management, temperature, pulling data that's appropriate for, say, a visiting guest to a city and other things. A lot of that flexibility and thought process are now lending themselves more to maybe some of the larger residential environments where clients want a little bit more control. So RTI is a very flexible system, one that I think it is something that dealers should really enjoy using. And one of the most important things as well, new products. We're now going to be doing
new products,
video over IP within their portfolio. Yes. So some really interesting things going on there. I would say certainly worth all of the guys kind of checking that out.
That product's actually available now on shipping. So if you go on the RTI website, you'll actually be able to go through products and have a look at that and see what you think of it. It's
no, fantastic. But yeah, certainly something to check out. Some guys will be filling obviously the old restrictions that we used to have with using conventional HDMI matrixing.
Yes. Then
to HD base T, different formats, video over IP, less of the issues that we'd have with kind of signal runs and pushing things around. Are very flexible. And what's nice when we move to IT spheres, we're kind of breaking away now from the 4x4, 8x8, 16x16 matrixing. Now with just a network switch, transmitter, receiver, now we can have 8 sources to 17 rooms and basically build a system around, around exactly what the client wants. We can build the inputs and outputs accordingly, and that's kind of quite flexible. So
one thing I would like to mention is when we're on tour.
Yes.
We're on tour, right? But currently we're filming this in the Pulse HQ. So as you can imagine, we are a working environment and we do have things going on. So in the background here, Simon Gibbs is walking around. Give us a shout outside.
Hello.
Hello. So he's just collected a parcel. It's probably not even going to be anything to do with work, is it?
Mr. BT.
It would be something like a pair of shoes or...
Yeah.
All things get delivered straight to work because we never actually go home. We're just here all the time.
We are.
Waiting for new product
We've got a shower
releases.
here as well, actually. So.
Have we? Amazing. That's good. So to the last one.
The last one is Isotech.
So a little walk over to those guys and we'll be back in a quick moment.
Yeah.
No more transitions. That was better than that one. I don't know. We'll see what the guys think. As they're chatting in comments, no, can we have you jingling the light fixture again?
Yeah, exactly.
All good. Right, all good. Let's walk.
Let's go.
The final stand of the day.
The final stand.
Isotech.
Isotech, exactly. So
cleaning up your power.
Cleaning your power. Now, power is a necessity. You know, we can't make all of these wonderful racks work without power, but one of the considerations within a system design is being able to clean that power in a way that all of those electronic items are going to be performing at their best.
Optimally.
Exactly. So whether it's a 2-channel system, whether it's a multi-room audio system, whether it's even a control system, all of these things take power and different noise throughout the system. So it's differential noise and modal noise or something they talk about has a big effect.
A webinar to come on this one in due course, I think.
Yeah.
But
yes, definitely get you up on the old webinars for the Isotech side of things because it is absolutely. Well, do you know what? The webinars do it justice, but actually sitting and listening to these systems and how it changes the performance is really important. But they've got an array of products from anywhere from like a power cable with different levels of quality. You've got power blocks. You then have things like the Aquarius, which has sort of your standard 10 amp and then two 16 amps. So if you've got some like big active subwoofers, or you've got a nice valve amp or something that you want a little bit more current to pull from, they cater for every sort of element in that respect. But moving into a distribution partnership with Pulse Cinemas, they actually helped to produce a smart power platform. So you've got your usual suspects out there that obviously govern the surge protection and all that kind of stuff. With Isotech, what you're doing is looking after the surge protection, filtering the power, cleaning it all out, making sure it's great on a multiple output setup. But you then have your remote access to that product. So from the perspective of the client's phone calls on the Saturday, which is something's gone wrong, and it's probably the skybox has fallen over, you're able to do full sequential startups, you're able to monitor the power live, you're able to see any issues, any potential issues, which may just affect the product, but also we've seen instances where these kind of products have actually helped in things like safety issues with properties, with fires and all these kind of things. These being able to remote into a system like that is really, really important for us.
Yeah, no, definitely. And from an isolation point of view, I've used their products and a few others over the years for what in the industry we call a truck roll reset. So singular device, Sky boxes. Do pay attention, Sky. I've been in integrator for 20 years and your boxes still lock up. Get better power supplies. You're selling enough of them. But yeah, so with all of these different devices, one, it's important to clean them up to make sure that we don't get the transients and other things happening on the mains that could, over a period of time, lower the life expectancy of that product. Transients, noise and other things like that could affect the quality of that product and how it can perform. So no, a great range of products. One thing I just wanted to close on, obviously we had planned a webinar with Isotech. Isotech family are as close to the Pulse family, and there's been some very, very sad news with them. So we just wanted to say from the bottom of all of our hearts and stuff for that sad news. Our thoughts are with you all at this time, and we hope to catch up with you guys in the new year. And yeah, it's not an easy time, certainly, and after everything that's happened this year, it certainly didn't add to it. But so for all of the guys, do check out Isotech products. Really, really strong, some really, really good product there. And again, if we're going to start to get into some, should I say, slightly higher priced assets, recommending those for your customers, putting those together into the systems, it's really, really important to understand just how much Isotech can benefit the longevity of that product and its performance as well. And as you quite rightly said, you can see so many videos online. I mean, I'm sure we'll be doing some in due course. But really, if you don't understand or believe that power is that important, then please come down here and we can certainly demonstrate the benefits of those. If you can't hear the difference, I would be genuinely surprised. And I've got very, very fussy ears. And I've heard all of the snake oil references at the Bristol Hi-Fi shows and the others over the years, and no, it's a very, very good product and one that's certainly worthy of checking out amongst all of the other ones in our portfolio.
Definitely.
That was a long walk.
Little personal message from me, guys. Keith, Tom, Bjorn, the time we've spent together at restaurants and working closely with what we've built in our distribution model has been an absolute pleasure. And what David said, we really do mean that. If you need us, we're here, and we're always here for you. So thanks for all the great work, guys.
Yep, look forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you for the sit-down tour, the COVID tour of the portfolio. It's
definitely.
All good.
So we will be, as I said before, doing these sofa sections on the Pulse Live and Creative side of things. So if you do want to get involved, if you want to come down, you want to talk to me on the sofa about your business, about the projects that we do together. We're going to have some really cool interviews with some industry people, and also sort of industries that aren't not necessarily in cinema.
Ones that complement ours as well.
Complement,
yeah, exactly.
Industry like lighting and sound reproduction. So please get involved, guys. Make sure you're following us on our social media networks, and we hope that you're going to have an incredible break very soon, and just thank you. Yeah,
a great Christmas, and all the best for the next year, which can't get much worse than it was this year, really.
Definitely.
Hopefully less face masks next year. Yeah,
Definitely.
that'd be good. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. Take care.
See you later.
See you soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.